Welcome to this week's podcast. Are you, or do you struggle with switching off? Are you the type of person that struggles to rest and do nothing? If you are, this is the episode for you. So, I have just had the most wonderful week off with my family. It's been half term, the boys have been on holiday, and we just spent really lovely time together. My there was a couple of days when my boys went off and did things with their friends, and Johnny and I were able to spend time together. And then we went away for a couple of nights as a family. We went up onto Dartmoor, and we slept in a camping barn, which was so much fun. So it's just like camping, only without the tent, and in a barn with a log burner, and it was fantastic. Um, Let me know if you want the information because it was brilliant. But what I notice, and I wonder if you notice this about yourself as well, is that even though I had planned time off, my brain still loves to tell me I should be working. You can't possibly stop, Nikki. There's kind of a fear attached to if I stop, it'll stop, as in my business, my clients, I don't know, my whole world. I seem to think, or I've been conditioned to believe, that I should always be doing something. And I think this is a problem for you as well. So when you take time out, even if it's just 5 minutes to sit and relax, your brain is just nagging at you. Oh, there's the washing to do, or there's that email to write, or, you really should be tidying up. You shouldn't just be sat here. Sitting here is lazy. And I find this fascinating because there is a lot of research out there that shows actually when we rest, when we rejuvenate, when we nourish ourselves with that time out, we come back so much more effective. We come back stronger. It's when our brain starts to kind of quieten down that we come up with really good ideas. Whereas when we're constantly going and going and going and going, um, we don't ever give ourselves that time to relax. So here's how I deal with that voice. I notice, first of all, that it's there. So if you've been following me for a while, I I do love me some planning. I do love putting time in my calendar to relax. And I actually have it in there um as time off, which enables me then to tell myself, no, this is exactly what I should be doing because it's what I've planned. So, this is the joy of planning ahead of time. It means you don't really need to start engaging in that dialogue when your brain's telling you what you should be doing or shouldn't be doing. In this case, as I shouldn't be sat still. Um, this is what you'd plan to do, brain. Thank you. So, your opinion isn't really needed, and you can just watch it. And there is something so very powerful about just watching your brain. Now, for those of you that believe that negative voice in your head, and for those of us that have that voice that tells us we're pathetic, that we're useless, that we shouldn't be sat here doing nothing, that we're being lazy, this exercise needs to be done with a lot of compassion because that's what your primitive brain chooses to believe. But your primitive brain also is lying to you in that moment because you're not pathetic. You're certainly not lazy. You're doing all the things. So taking 5 minutes, 10 minutes, or a week off with your family is not lazy. This has just been somebody else's opinion at some point that we've heard that we've started to choose to believe. But it's not true. So the first step is to really acknowledge that voice that you're hearing with just absolute fascination. Isn't this interesting? Look at my brain freaking out because I've stopped for 5 minutes. Isn't that interesting? We're not judging ourselves. We're not using this awareness as a tool to beat ourselves up. This is a technique that you get to learn that enables you to just be aware of your brain because so many people sit and go, well, I tried meditating and my brain, I just can't switch my brain off. I don't think that's the goal of meditating. Or maybe for some people it is. That's not what I try and do. I I take this time to just be with my thoughts. And I watch it because you can't actually switch your brain off. Your brain is a processing machine. It is designed to think. It is constantly active. And it is going to be active. It is going to think right up until the moment you take your last breath, which hopefully is many, 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 many years away. So the goal is to not stop our brain or to try and stop our brain thinking. The goal is just to become aware of what you're thinking. The next step is to question, is that actually true? And I will promise you that I reckon 95% of what your brain is telling you probably isn't factual, especially if it's about the past or it's about the future. Anything about the future is totally made up because you have no idea about what's going to happen in the future. Your brain has no idea what's going to happen 5 minutes time, 10 minutes time. 5 days' time, 20 years' time. So whatever dialogue and narrative you hear, it's definitely about the future. That's 100% made up. Similar to the past, actually, there will be facts that happened in the past, but a descriptive word is not a fact. Just going to say that again. A descriptive word is not a fact. Rubbish, terrible, awful, Uh, none of those are facts. That's your brain's interpretation of something of a fact that happened in the past. You get to decide once you're aware of it whether you want to keep telling yourself that story. The same with resting. So, what is resting? Like, let's get clear for a second on what my definition of resting looks like. And I think there are a couple. There's an active resting. So for me, active resting might look like doing some yoga, reading a book, going for a walk. But what I'm not doing when I'm doing those activities is trying to force a relaxation. I'm going with the flow of walking, going with the flow of yoga, going with the flow of the book. And there's also the type of resting where I am literally doing nothing. I will sit on my sofa, I will look out my window, and I will just watch where my brain goes without judgment, without criticism, and definitely without judgment. And actually, when I sit there and when I do that, and like there is a part of me that always wants to resist doing that because I've got this thought that I should always be doing something. Can't possibly just sit still. That's not going to grow my business. I have to do something. Actually, that's really not true. But when I sit, I've got so much evidence to prove that when I just sit and let my brain wander freely without judgment, I come up with some really good ideas and I just note them down on my phone, back to resting. But never do I try and stop my brain thinking because it's impossible. So I just breathe and I just watch it going wherever it's going. And then there's the other type of resting where I just fall asleep. Like, especially if I'm in a sunny spot and I'm out the breeze and the sun's on my face. Oh, it just feels so delicious. Of course, I'm going to nod off and have a little afternoon siesta, a little nap. So there's two different types of resting for me, but neither of them are forced. I'm not forcing myself to do anything in that moment. I'm either going with the flow of walking, the yoga, or reading, or, having a bath or whatever else I'm doing. And for some people, this might look like, watching TV, but there is something so incredibly powerful about giving your brain permission to just freely roam wherever it wants to roam and think about whatever it wants to think about without the judgment. Now, for those of you that have the belief, I can't sit still. So this isn't, I know I can sit still. I just don't think I should be. But for those of you that actually think, well, I can't sit still, I can't sit still, as if that's a fact, I just want you to consider for a moment that sitting still is actually the easiest thing for your body to do. I mean, just think about that sentence for a minute. I can't sit still. It's not true. Your body is very capable of sitting still. What's happening is your mind is so active, you're thinking that you can't sit still, which is a total and utter lie. just be just find that funny. That's really funny that your brain thinks I can't sit still. Yes, you can. Yes, you can absolutely sit still. The world is not going to end if you put your bottom on a seat and stay still for 5 minutes. You can actually do that. And when I say that, like I'm talking about fully functioning adults, right? If you've got um, an extreme neurodiversity or autism, then maybe, maybe not. But I'm talking about even with your brain that's an overthinking, even with your brain that you consider to be overactive, your body can sit still. So it's actually that lie that you think you can't that's causing your problem. But you can. You can sit still. And if you think that sitting and doing nothing is lazy, consider the opposite. And I think this is a society thing. We experienced it yesterday. My husband and I were both sat up and out in the sun. We were reading our books. I think my husband might have been asleep actually. Someone came to the house and said to us, "Oh, how the lazy live." Because we consider doing nothing as lazy in our society. I'm here to call bullshit on that because actually, when you relax, you are so much more effective. But that's not even the reason for relaxing. The reason for relaxing is because you can and you can give yourself that opportunity. The world will not end. It is not being lazy. If anything, and I need to hear this as I'm saying it to you, if anything, especially if you've got your own business, resting and relaxing is vital because if you are your business, if you become ill or burn out, you are not available for your business. I need to hear these words myself. We cannot do all the time. So actually, relaxation and rest is not lazy. It's absolutely essential to be the best version of us that we can be, to be the best business owner, to be the best employee, to be the best mum, wife, partner, friend. If you're tired, burnt out, and miserable, that is not good for anybody. So resting is vital. Plan it in. Start small. If this is something that you really struggle with because you shouldn't sit still or you can't sit still, both lies, just start with a minute. Just go right for a minute and listen. Listen to me when I tell you. If you can't find time for a minute, you need to be doing this for an hour. Like if you really think you don't have a minute or 5 minutes in your day, you 100% need to come and be speaking to me because there's something going on there that isn't quite right in your mindset. 1 minute. If 1 minute isn't is easy, go for five, but just start somewhere. And the goal is not to stop your brain. The goal is just to notice your brain and relax your body. There is nothing to be done. I'm going to say that again. Even if there's washing dirty dishes, even if there's clothes that need to be hung up, even if there's um, food that needs to be cooked, even if there's an email that needs to be written, if you have planned in that 5 minutes, there is nothing to be done except just watching your brain with pure fascination. So just start there. Start with a minute. If a minute's easy, start with 5 minutes. If 5 minutes is easy, start with 10 minutes. I think you get the idea. But start somewhere. Put it in your calendar, schedule it in. And then just let your brain wander. Don't engage in its dialogue. Don't argue with it. You can't argue with it. It's primitive. It's childlike. And just notice the lies that it tells you with fascination and curiosity and humor. And if you really struggle, come and speak to me because I would love to help you with this. It will make you a better mum. It will make you a better business owner. It will make you a better you. Your life is good already. Giving your space time to rest will make it great. And I would love to support you on that journey. Have an amazing week, and I'll speak to you again next week. Bye bye.